Hi, I'm DuEwa Frazier, and you're listening to episode 22 of Nerdacity podcast. Today, my guest is award-winning poet, nonfiction writer, and professor Quincy Troupe. Quincy is the author of 20 books, including 10 volumes of poetry and 3 children's books. His awards include the Paterson Award for Sustained Literary Achievement, Gwendolyn Brooks Poetry Award, a 2014 Lifetime Achievement Award from Furious Flower, and Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History Award, January 25, 2018 in Detroit, Michigan. Quincy Troupe's writings have been translated into over 30 languages. Seven Stories Press will publish a new collection of Troupe's poetry titled Duende, Poems 1962 to Now, in the fall of 2021, and also his memoir, The Accordion Years, in the following year, 2022. A major motion picture based on Troupe's memoir, Miles and Me, is also scheduled to go into production in the fall of 2021. Currently, Quincy Troupe is poetry editor of A Gathering of Tribes and contributing editor to Conch, 2 online literary journals. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It is an honor and privilege to talk with you. There are a number of people in my network and yours also who are very excited to hear you in this interview, and they know that you have a new book coming out.
Yes, I have a book. It's titled Duende. That's Duende, and it comes from the Spanish. It comes from the Spanish meaning magic coming up from the earth, and how I got to that word was that the great poet Federico Garcia Lorca talked about the Duende, and I was fascinated by it. He wrote a little book on it, and I was just fascinated by it. So I found myself, when I was writing this new book, I wrote a poem called Duende, and I decided to title the book that's going to come out from Seven Stories Press in hardback and paperback in late August, early September of this year. And so I thought I would use that title. And the book is about 500 pages, between 500 pages.
Wow. Well, Quincy, congratulations on Duende. And as I'm looking at the cover here, Poems 1966 to Now. Wow, that's history right there.
Yes, it is. I mean, I enjoyed putting this book together because actually I had about 1,500 pages of poems, 1,500 to 2,000 pages. He said, "No, we're not going to do a book that big." So we're not going to do it that big. He said, "We'll do that with your collected." I said, "Okay." And so I just love the title. And the book goes all the way back to 1966 when I was out in Watts, when I was living in Los Angeles and hanging out with my friends out there, Ojinke and K. Curtis Lyle, and hanging around with them. And so it goes back to that and comes all the way forward to now in New York. And, the last poem in here is probably going to be a poem that I'm trying to finish up now, called COVID-19 Removals.
That's amazing, Quincy. And I know I want to come back around to your new, some of your new poems.
Sure.
During this segment, but I really want to ask you, how has the work in poetry and writing changed for you over the years, from 1966 to the present? What do you reflect on in that?
Well, I never thought I was going to be a writer. First of all, I was a basketball player and a baseball player. I came from an athletic family, And at one time I was a very, very good basketball player, and I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player. And but then I wrecked my knee playing in. I was on the All Army basketball team playing in Europe, and I wrecked my knee, which ended that. And so I started writing over in France when I was living in France. I started to write in France, and the way I put it is I used to love to read books. I always read books all my life, and then didn't know what I was going to do. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a lawyer, but my mother wanted me to be a lawyer. But I did not want to do that. So when I came back to the United States, I moved to Los Angeles, and I understood that I should do something that I love. And so I love basketball, and I love reading books. And then I discovered that I love writing. I discovered that I really love writing, although I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. So I studied it. I went back to school to study writing at Los Angeles City College after Grambling College. And I went back to because I majored in political science, and when I was at first in school. And so I went back to study writing, and I went to Los Angeles City College and started to study writing, poets especially. And that's what got me into it. All of a sudden, that's what I wanted to do. My mother thought I was absolutely crazy because I came from because I became from a very prominent political family in St. Louis. And so, but my uncle wanted me to be a politician, and my mother wanted me to be a lawyer. So she wanted me to combine both. But once I got to LA and started, discovered, I always loved music, but I never thought I never thought about writing. But once I discovered it, it was no going back for me. I just loved it. I just loved it. I wrote every day. I carried notebooks around and wrote I wrote on everything: books, pieces of paper, napkins.
Wow.
So it was just something that I discovered that I just loved it. I had no idea what was going to happen, but one thing led to another, and I began to publish, and that was me that people like my work.
Wow, that's amazing. So, do you believe? I've often heard in terms of being a writer, some people say a writer is chosen. You don't choose it; it chooses you. Do you believe that for yourself?
Well, the arc of my career, my love of the writing, I guess it is. I could agree with that because, as I said before, I didn't think I was going to be a writer. I never thought about it, even though I loved writing. I loved it, and but all of a sudden, once I started to do it, it seems like I just I couldn't stop, and so in a way, I guess it did choose me. It did choose me. It chose my heart. Chose my heart, and I wanted to do it no matter what. And it's just something that it wasn't that I thought I was going to be great. I had no idea. I didn't plot out a career. I hear people say, well, I wanted to be a writer since I was 3. I and I said to myself, since you were 3, how did you know that? I didn't know I was going to be I never thought I was going to be a writer until I was in my 20s. In my 20s,
Wow.
when I went to LA, that's when I thought I could perhaps do this. And I didn't know I was going to be able to do it. I just knew I had to try to do it, in a way.
Indeed. And that's what, when I hear your story and stories like yours, it's like, wow. I mean, it sounds like, almost a magical journey, just the way things unfolded and the way it happened. Because your works have been magnificent, from your poetry, 10 volumes of poetry, 3 children's books, several works of nonfiction, or Earl the Pearl, My Story, the memoir of Earl Monroe. You also worked on The Pursuit of Happiness, an autobiography with Chris Gardner that became a motion picture. Miles and Me, soon to be a major motion picture. I mean, how did you get into the nonfiction and interviewing great folks like Miles Davis?
Well, when I, it was funny. Now, this was something that happened, and my mother was a really pragmatic woman, and she said to me one time, "How are you going to support yourself? You can't support yourself writing poetry? Talking about who? Arthur Rimbaud, Garcia Larker. How are you going to support yourself? How are you going to make money? How are you going to eat?" So that hit me. It hit me. I thought about it. So that's why I went back to school to study journalism. And so when I was living in Los Angeles, I went back to school to study journalism, and I went to Los Angeles. I had enough sense to try to find out what had the best journalism school in Los Angeles when I was living there. And I found out from just checking around, that Los Angeles City College had a daily. They had a school of journalism where a lot of people at the Los Angeles Times and all of the best newspapers writers went to Los Angeles City College. And so I said, well, let me try to go there. So I decided I was going to go to Los Angeles City College, study journalism, and then I would write every day and write journalism every day. And that would support me. That would support me in my pursuit of becoming a poet. I felt like I had to eat, and so if I had a job, a craft, which is what journalism is, learning how to put together magazines, learning how to write journalism, learning all of that, all the ins and outs of journalism, I could write poetry on the side, which is what I really love. And so that's what I started to do. I started to do that, and it really, really, really served me well, because I started writing all these stories for the Los Angeles Free Press, LA Times, all of those magazines in LA. But on the side, I was writing poetry. And at the same time, I was making a little money being a stringer for all these newspapers and magazines. And
Wow.
it served me well. I met good friends. I have friends I had then, I have now, like Eric Priestley. Eric Priestley was my good friend and still is. I met him out there in the Watch Writers Workshop. And Ojinke, who is still one of my really good friends, and a whole bunch of people. And K. Curtis Lyle. I met all these people in Los Angeles, and they are still really, really some of my best friends in the world at this point.
Wow. And so your foundation in journalism, Quincy, you're saying really translated into you writing these bestsellers in Miles' autobiography of Miles Davis and his memoir, Miles and Me, soon to become a motion picture, as well as The Pursuit of Happiness. So would you say your journalistic foundation kind of really helped with writing in those genres?
Oh, sure. I mean, it did. I mean, I separated that skill. I call it a craft, not an art form. Poetry for me is an art form. Journalism is a craft. It's a craft where you do it as a craftsman. You have to learn how to put it together, the story together, writing sentences, paragraphs. You have to write. You have to learn how to write a journalistic piece that will be published in some of the best publications, newspapers and magazines and journals, and you can write for television. All of that. It's a craft. It's a craft. It is. Poetry is something that is inspirational. Poetry is something that comes out of like music. I look at poetry. Poetry is the combination of language, musical language, metaphor, which means painting. You have to bring in painting, and you have, that's what that's about. You have to create metaphor and images, and that just like a painter does. And at the same time, you have to write rhythms. You have to write in a rhythmic voice, and you have to learn the craft of it, which is, like if you write a haiku. A haiku is five syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. That's 17 syllables. 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, 5 syllables in the third line. A sonnet is 14 lines of rhyming, of iambic pentameter. Okay, and then if you write the sestina, that's a 19-line poem, French form, and you have to write the lines in a certain way. It's a certain craft to that. Free verse is another thing. The villanelle is another craft. This is just, so I learned all of that. I learned how to write villanelles, sestinas, haikus, sonnets, but at the same time, I love to write free verse, and I love to create my own form. I've created some forms called 7-11s based on the throw of the dice.
Wow. Is that Quincy? Is that a St. Louis thing?
No, it's not. Well, it is, because I used to shoot craps in St. Louis. It's seven syllables. A 7-11 is you take the sevens, and I created this myself. The sevens are, you start out with 7 syllables, 11 syllables, 7 syllables, and you go through 7 lines like that. 7-11, 7-11, 7-11, 7, and then the 11s. Is 11 syllables in the first line, 11, 7, 11, 7, like that, till you get to 11 lines. And it's all based on the throw of the dice. 7 through 11, you win in the game of dice. Snake eyes, you lose. So it's based on that, It's based on that kind.
Wow.
That kind of form. And so I've created a whole bunch of them now. It's funny because I have some friends, other poets who are writing 7-11s. They're writing 7-11s now. Like some people used to write haikus. Now some people are writing 7-11s. I feel
7-11s.
I'm flattered by that. I'm really flattered by it,
Wow. It's innovative for sure.
For me, it's poetry that's what it's about. It's about craft, but it's also about free form, and it's about innovation. It's about trying to impact. I've always felt, since I've studied all of the forms that came out that Americans use. The sestina is a French form. The sonnet is an English and an Italian form. The haiku is a Japanese and Chinese form. And they weren't created here. They were created someplace else. So in my head, I wanted to create a form that could be coming out of the United States, that could be based in a certain kind of form, that could be coming out of the United States. And also, I thought, since I read a lot of what European poets, how they were influenced, and they were all talking about Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, all of the so-called classical European composers and musicians. And so I thought, well, why can't we be based? Why can't it be? I grew up down the street from Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry lived down the street from me.
Yeah.
And he used to come into place
in
when
St.
I was a
St.
basketball
Louis,
player
right?
At Beaumont High School. And he lived
on an
avenue, and we had all them fine girls, because we were basketball players and athletes. And so he started coming to the little place that we hung out at. And Chuck Berry did. He's coming there trying to cop some of those fine young girls that we had at the time. We were young too at the time. And I said to myself, wow, this guy's coming in here trying to steal our girlfriends.
And was that before he was, really into his music?
Oh no, he was famous.
Oh, he was already famous.
Already famous.
Okay.
He had already rolled over Beethoven. He'd already written that. And I knew him because of the fact my stepfather, my father, Quincy Troupe, he added a P to his name, Quincy Troupe, because he played in Latin America, and Mexico, and Cuba, and Puerto Rico. So they put an extra P, Trouppe. So
Oh. Mhm.
I always get when, especially from old guys, they say, "Hey, what? Are you, are you in any relation to Quincy Troupe?" I say, "Yeah, yeah." They say, "Well, why you drop a P?" I said, "I didn't drop a P. He added a P."
He added he added the
He added a
P.
P. I said, and he pissed off everybody in my family too. Adding the P, adding the P to his name because he played down there. And
Sure.
so, for me, uh, that's what it was about. That for me, and uh, yeah. So I think everything has to be based in some kind of tradition. I love Chuck Berry as a musician, uh, and Chuck used to come to my house because my stepfather, China Brown, married my mother. My mother was a beautiful woman, and my mother all the men loved my mother, so she had all these guys
Yeah.
that come in by the house, and so, but she married China Brown, who was a blues bass player, and he led a band, and so Chuck Berry knew him, and so Chuck would be coming by the house to talk to China Brown. So that's how I got to really know Chuck Berry, and I got to know him
Hmm.
because he come by. He called me Little Troop, Little Troop, you Little Troop, Little Troop, Little
Oh,
Troop. Where you going with
wow.
that fine girl?
Now, Quincy, I'm amazed at that because now that makes me wonder, did you ever think about, writing a book with Chuck
No,
Berry?
no, I don't. Because first he's dead, and I love Chuck
Yeah.
Berry. I think he was totally innovative, and he was a little hard.
Yeah.
He was hard to deal with, though. He was hard to deal with. I mean, I knew him. My good friend K. Curtis Lyle lived out in Wentzville, where
Hmm.
Chuck lived, and so when I go to
Uh-huh.
St. Louis, and Kay Curtis Curtis was teaching at Washington University, and he had this great job, and
Uh-huh.
and he had a great girlfriend and all that. He had a nice house, so I'd go out there and stay. So, and one day I was walking down the road early in the morning. I used to go for walks early in the morning, 5 or 6 in the morning.
Hmm.
I'm walking down the road. I think it was Wentzville Road, I think. And here I'm walking, and I
Hmm.
see this guy coming toward me. So St. Louis is such a violent place in a way. I immediately went into my gangster role. Like, okay, I don't know who this guy is. It's early in the morning.
Right.
I got to be ready. Whoever it is.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
when I got up close to him, I saw it was Chuck Berry. You know, I said, I said,
Wow.
"Oh, hello, Mr. Berry. Hello, Mrs. Berry. This Quincy Troupe. Quincy Troupe and China Brown's son." He said, "I know you are, a little Troupe," and he just walked right past me. He didn't even stop and talk to me. He just kept going like, "I ain't talking to you. You ain't nothing." That was his attitude.
Wow.
And I would see him in the
Right.
morning, and I'd see him walking in the morning down there. I didn't even speak to him no more. So one day he said to me, I
You're
walk in, he said,
kidding. Mm.
"Hey, you not gonna speak to me, Troop? Little Troop, you ain't gonna speak to me? I'm your elder. Speak to me, boy."
Oh,
That was
wow.
Chuck, man. Chuck was too much.
Mm. That's amazing. And was this before or after? Well, this had to have been way before that you had started your friendship with Miles
Right,
Davis, right?
right. I loved Miles Davis from the first time I heard his music. And by the time I got into these, 16, 17, I thought I was, getting slick, I was always into
Mm-hmm.
fashion and clothes and shoes. I even kept me a little job so I could buy shoes and little suits and everything. And and um and I saw Miles Davis. I saw my stepfather took me to see Miles Davis at Peacock Alley. And I go to Peacock Alley in St. Louis, and the place was packed, packed. And I was with my little girlfriend, and I maybe 17. I got on my hat and suit and all that, and I look up at the bar, and Miles Davis was at the bar talking to, I forget who, to Coltrane. Coltrane. He was talking to Coltrane. He was sitting at the bar. He was at the bar
Wow.
talking to Nicole Coltrane.
John
But
Coltrane?
yeah,
John
John
Coltrane?
Coltrane. And so he was in his band.
Wow.
He was in that band. And so by Miles's band, he was in Miles's band. So they had this little arc of space around where Miles was. It was an arc of space. Nobody entered that space. We could all stand up and look at him. He was like a rare jewel. I think I put it someplace. He was like a diamond. You could look, but you couldn't touch it. You couldn't get close to it. So he was standing at the bar, and that's when he smoked, and he was drinking a beer, and he drank then. And here I heard coming from the back of the room, I heard somebody say, "Oh dear, look. Oh dear, look. There's Miles Davis standing up there. There's Miles standing at the bar. Let's go say hello." So I turned around. Everybody turned around, and it was this white boy and his girlfriend. He's pulling her in tow. And I'm saying to myself, is he going to speak to Miles? Is he going to speak to Miles? And he goes up to Miles Davis and stuck his hand out and said, excuse this language, though. This is what he said. He stuck his hand and said, "Hello, Miles Davis, my name is." And Miles Davis looked at him and said, "Fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck you, motherfucker. Fuck you. Shut the fuck up and take that bitch with you." I said to myself, oh man, wow. That was too cold. I had never heard nobody talk to a white man like that in my life. I had
my goodness.
Ever.
Now, around what time? No, what time period was this? Around what year was this?
I must have been about 17, 18. So it must have been in the 40s, 50s. And
wow.
The guy
in the 50s,
stunned.
yeah.
He was just so stunned. Everybody was stunned. People started laughing, but the guy turned around and walked away. And Miles Davis just turned around like the king he was and just went back to talking to Coltrane, And I said to myself, I never saw a black man treat a white man like that in my life. And so from that day on,
wow,
I just loved Miles Davis. I just loved him, not only his music, but he had this attitude. He had this attitude that
nobody messed with him, I guess.
Nobody would bother with him. Nobody. He was like a king. He was really like a king. And I found out later that he had been like that all his life, that his father was the second richest black man in the state of Illinois. And millionaire. He grew up like he was a millionaire's son, They had a 300-acre farm, His father had all this money. And it was amazing. I found all about him. So what I'm saying was, and I used to ask people about Miles. I wanted to meet Miles. And my cousin, who was a big time drug dealer at the time, and I used to bug him all the time. Said, "Man, I got to meet Miles." He said, "Man, Miles don't want to meet you, man. Who are you?" I said, I'm a great basketball player." He said, "He don't care." Miles don't care what you are.
Wow. So no, he knew Miles? Did he know Miles?
He just knew Miles didn't want to talk to me.
Okay. And so, that's when you were, that's pre-poetry and all of your travels and everything. I hadn't even traveled yet,
but I knew at that moment that I wanted to grow up and be like Miles Davis. I said to myself, I got to be like this guy. I got to be like him. I don't say I want to walk around cursing out white people, but I want to be confident, sure of myself, moving through the world. I want to be like that. You know what I mean? I don't want to be no Uncle Tom black guy for nobody, And I realized that that's where he was. And I didn't know him. And I said to myself, I got to meet this man. I have to meet him. And I did meet him when I first came to New York. And I want to read. Can I read you something about it?
Yes, please do. Please. Yes.
It's in my book, Miles and Me. Meeting Miles.
Okay.
I first met Miles Davis in 1978 at a party at Dr. Leo Maitland's. Leo, who had at one time been one of Miles's doctors, lived down the hall from me at 382 Central Park West and had become a very good friend. I had been listening to Miles since 1954, and he had been a hero for me for a long time. But by 1978, I wasn't listening to his records as much as I had earlier in my life, although I still loved going to hear him play live. Before I actually met Miles at Leo, I had seen him a couple of times in the elevator of my building because he lived in the and was dating one of my former poetry workshop students, Yvonne or Yvette Durrett. They were identical twins. So I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was Yvette who lived in the same building I did. I had also caught glimpses of him a few times at neighborhood bars. He would sit in a corner hidden behind his ever-present dark glasses, looking menacingly at everyone. Sometimes I spotted him at after-hour joints. Other times I saw him hurrying through the neighborhood streets, walking or driving his red Ferrari sports coupe. Like I said, we lived in the same neighborhood, the Upper West Side of Manhattan, but whenever we passed each other, no matter where it was, I was never tempted to say even a mumbling word to him. That was because I had a very clear memory of how angry he could become at unwanted public attention. The memory was more than 20 years old, but was still as vivid to me as though the scene had happened the day before yesterday. And he talks about the Peacock Alley where I told you that story, how he cursed out the white guy.
Right.
That memory was in my
Wow.
head locked. So I was not going to be the one that walked up to say nothing to him at that point.
To say nothing to him at all.
I gave him his space. But I can tell you later on, after we got to be friends, we got to be really good friends because I wrote this piece on him for Spin magazine. I interviewed him and got to know him. Went over his apartment on Fifth Avenue and got to know him. And then he found out what really made him I think broke
turn
the ice
around
for me
with
was that the first band he played in was my cousin Eddie Randall's band in St. Louis. That was the first band he played in when he was 17 years old, 16 to 17 years old. And so when I was interviewing him, he found out and he said he played. I said, yeah, can you tell me about you, about how you like playing in Eddie Randall's band? He said, oh, you know about Eddie Randall? I said, yeah, I know about Eddie Randall. Eddie Randall was my cousin, was my mother's first cousin. He was my cousin. He used to come by the house every day. Eddie Randall was your cousin? No shit.
Wow.
So then he looked at me real crazy. Then he said, well, don't sit there and look, man. Ask me a goddamn question. Because I hadn't asked him a question at that point. And from that point on, I couldn't do no wrong. I could not. He would do anything, not anything, but I mean, whatever I wanted, he would whatever I wanted to know, he would open up and give it to me. And that was a gift. That was a gift of Miles. And then he liked me. He told me one day, man, you about a funny looking motherfucker. And then he told me one day, this was really what it was. He said, he said something that made me mad. You made me angry, because he could be cold-blooded on you. And he said, I'll hit you in your fucking mouth. And I looked at him, I said, Miles, you looked at yourself recently? I said, you 5'8" and I'm 6'2". You weigh 150 pounds and I weigh 215. I say, I will hurt you. I said, I will hit you in your mouth and break your damn embouchure. I said, I'm from St. Louis, just like you from East St. Louis. I don't take no shit off nobody, man. And I definitely ain't gonna take no whooping. He looked at me, he said, and he grabbed his mouth when I said I'd hit him in his mouth and ruin his embouchure. He grabbed his mouth, and from that time on, he would tell everybody, you know what? You know this, he said to me, he said he was gonna hit me in my mouth and ruin my embouchure. He would tell people that story. He said it. He said it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I said, man, this guy's crazy. You know? Yeah, I'm crazy.
He's
right?
crazy, right?
And from that time on, we just, it was wonderful. You know, he would come by my house. He'd come by. He met my wife, Margaret. He said, man, how you got to find a woman like this? Shit. You know? I said the same way you did, man. And I remember one time we were over his house, and he was talking to her, and you know, Margaret and I did this, and she hit on, it was in the summer, and he hit her thigh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and he hit her on the thigh back. He wasn't meaning her. That's what he did. And she said, Miles, don't touch me. What's wrong with you?
Right.
She said, I'll smack the shit out of you. Don't you never put your hands on me. And he said,
wow.
Where you from? She from Mississippi. God damn, he went. He said to her, you know how many women want me to put that? She said, I don't care. She said, I don't care how many women want you to put your hand on their thigh. Don't put your hand on my thigh, okay? And he was like, all right. he never did it again. He
learned that
never
day.
did it again. He never. So, you know, Miles and I, we had this really great relationship in a way that was, you know, I miss him to this day, but it was just a marvelous relationship. Every time he'd come town, he'd invite me to leave. He'd leave. How many tickets you want? He said, how many tickets you want, you poor ass motherfucker? I said, can I bring?
And he meant to his shows, I guess.
He said,
his shows.
I got you
okay.
a table down front. God damn it! And how many tickets you want? I said, give me 4. Okay. I got it. I put you on my tab. All right. Don't say I didn't never do nothing for your ass. And he would come up to the table and be playing. Everybody's all silent and everything. He'd come over to our table and stick his tongue out at Margaret and I. And people would be like, what is he doing?
Oh, that's too funny.
But that was him, you know.
Man, he sounds like he was a real ham. I mean, this is a side that most of us don't know, because when you know, for me, looking at his album covers and the photos, he looked so serious.
But you know what it was with him. He was very shy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was very, very shy. DuEwa. He was very shy. And a lot of people didn't know how shy he was.
Mm-hmm.
So the way he kept people off of him was to put that attitude out there to him. And he kept everybody back because of that.
Wow.
We would walk down the street. I'd go see him, and we'd go have lunch. And we'd be walking down the streets, and people would be whispering, there's Miles Davis. There's Miles Davis. There's Miles Davis. He wouldn't even pay attention. He wasn't into that. He really wasn't, you know. But
so what did that, you know, Quincy, what did that process do for you, from the friendship to then writing about him and writing, you know, how was that for you artistically to sort of transfer that into your writing?
He told me something that was really important. He says, when I first really got to know him, and so they had asked me to write. Did I think that Miles would let me do a piece on him for Spin magazine? By this time I was writing for all the magazines, all the big top magazines, Spin, the New York Times, Rolling Stone, all of the music magazines. And I asked him can I do a piece on you? I'm going to do a piece on him. He said, yeah, okay. All right, what you want to do? I said, I just want to, do this piece on you. So he was living on Fifth Avenue at the time. First, he was living on 59th Street when I first started. And I'd go down to 59th Street, and we sit up there and do the interview, and we would just talk and talk and talk. And then he moved to Fifth Avenue, 79th and Fifth Avenue, apartment on the 14th floor. And I drive down there, and I'd sit up and talk to him, and we would talk, you know. And we talked so much. I had so much tape the Spin magazine piece had to be in 2 parts. It had to be in 2 parts.
Wow.
And when the piece came out, I mean, Miles was really to the point where he'd drive me downtown in his car, or I'd drive him down in my. And I had a Saab at the time. This was fun. This is a funny story. I had a Saab. I had a bronze Star, a bronze Saab. It was bronze color, about 3 years old at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, "You got a car?" I said, yeah, I got a car. He said, "You give me a lift downtown to my girl's house?" I said, sure. And so he got his little bag, overnight bag, came out to my car. I had my Saab. And he looked at the Saab and he said, "What kind of piece of shit is this?" He said, I said,
wow.
"It's the piece of shit that's going to take you downtown if you shut your mouth." "All right, Quincy, all right." And I take him downtown, But he was like that. That's what I liked about him. He was like point blank, And if Miles Davis was the kind of person, if he didn't like you, it was nothing you could do to make. Nothing. But if he liked you,
nothing.
You were in. If he liked you, you were in. But if he didn't like you, that was it. You couldn't do nothing. So it was a great time that we had. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot just watching him, like how he rehearsed. He really rehearsed. He rehearsed hard. He practiced.
Did you, Quincy, did you ever perform your poetry with Miles,
you just asked
playing?
me a question that's going to be funny. After he died, he had told me, "We want to do this, man." We were talking about doing this album with me reading poetry on it. Yeah, man, I want to do this. Died. And then he died. So I remember going out to his grave. I went out to his grave and I sat there with my wife. And I went out there and I said, "Miles, get up out of the goddamn ground, you motherfucker." Get up out. He was in a crypt. He's buried in a crypt. It's above the ground. He said he don't want no worms about getting him. So he's in a concrete crypt above the ground. And I said, "Get up out. Come up out of that fucking crypt, man. Shit. We were supposed to do this record and you fucking died. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Are you crazy?" I'm talking to him like he's alive, right? and I swear I heard it. I know it was not true, but I heard something. He said, "Get off my goddamn grave, you motherfucker." Something making you. He said, "Yo, get off my shit, man. You're out here disturbing the peace. You're talking that dumb shit." That's not the way I talk, but that's the way he talks. Yeah, that's the way he talks.
That's the way he talks, right?
And it was funny. I go see him sometimes, go by his grave out there, and because he was a spirit. He was a great spirit.
Wow, that's amazing. And so, right around that time, were you were also writing poetry, and I gather you were probably teaching as well. Is that correct?
I was teaching it. I had gotten this job teaching at City University of New York, and I was tenured. I was tenured. I taught there for 20 years. Then I started teaching at Columbia University's writing program in New York, and that was a great gig. About that time, I was starting to get a lot of attention after the Miles, a lot of attention, and so then Chris Gardner wanted me to write his book. And then Earl Monroe wanted me to write his book. Earl lives in the same building I live in now in New York. And they all wanted, there are all kinds of people wanted me to write their books after the Miles book. And I did 3. I did Earl of Pearl Monroe with Earl Monroe. I did The Pursuit of Happiness with Chris Gardner.
Chris Gardner.
The Miles book. And I think that's it. Those books, and then I wrote Miles. Oh, that's what he said to me. "Don't write about me until I'm dead." That's what Miles said. "Don't write about me until I'm dead." So I had to wait till he died to write Miles and Me. He knew I was going to write about it. You know
Okay.
you're gonna do it,
Right.
so don't do it until I'm dead.
Okay.
So I did. I didn't. I kept my word. I didn't do it until I kept my word, and
You kept your word,
I
yeah.
wrote Miles and Me after he died. Yeah.
And about how long would you say that with the span of time did that take you? Was it pretty easy? Because you had been taping your
Right. And I think it
conversations
was
with him, right?
2000. I think let's do this and I'll see. Let's see. Yeah, he died in 1991, and died in 1991.
Uh-huh.
And Miles and Me came out in 2000. It came out in 2000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's done very well, just like the Mousy autobiography did very well. And the Mousy autobiography
Right.
has been translated into like 30 some languages. It's about 30 some languages, maybe I don't know how
Wow.
many, you know. And Miles and Me has been translated in about
Mm-hmm.
20, you know, 15 or 20. So both of
Mm-hmm.
those books have done quite well,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yes, indeed. And, that kind of brings me to knowing that this film has been in the works for a while now. And can you
Sure.
talk a little bit
It's called
about
Miles
that,
and Me.
Quincy?
And my
Mm-hmm.
friend, the real interesting thing is my friend who was my editor on the Miles pieces I wrote for Spin, and he was my editor on when I was writing for the Village Voice. And when I was writing for Spin, he had moved over from the
Mm-hmm.
Village Voice to Spin. And Rudy Langlace, who is from St. Kitts. He's a black guy from St. Kitts. He's really a great editor. And he's also now, he went into making movies. He produced The Hurricane and 6 other movies. The Hurricane with Denzel Washington. Yeah, he produced that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's
Uh-huh.
producing Miles and Me. And we were supposed to have started, but then coronavirus, the coronavirus happened. And so we
Sure.
were supposed to have started last year.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But now it's going to start. They're going to start shooting
Okay.
in this. I think I'm not sure, but I don't hold me to this because it's like it's going to come out next
Oh,
year.
sure. Mm-hmm.
It's going to come out next year, and
Oh, next year. Yeah. Well, do they, Quincy, do they have their
I
cast
know.
and all of that? Do
Yeah,
you
Michael
know
K.
who's
Williams is going
playing
to play
Miles
Miles.
Davis?
Yeah,
Oh,
Michael
Michael
K.
K.
Williams is
Williams
supposed to
from New
play
York.
Miles,
Yeah.
and at first
Uh-huh.
Lawrence Fishburne was going to play me, but but I don't know how that's going to go because they were talking about other
Mm-hmm.
people now, and then Denzel is going to be in it sometime. I
Right.
don't know what Denzel's going to do. Denzel wants to
You're
direct it,
kidding me.
but I don't know if that's what it is. I try to
Oh,
keep out of
yeah.
it, because it's Hollywood. It's Hollywood.
Okay.
It's Hollywood.
Right.
I prefer not to.
Yeah.
I see when I go out there, I kind of check in, but yeah.
Sure. But
I
they're
wrote the
going
script
on
too.
your book, and
Yeah, I wrote the
you
screenplay.
wrote the script as well. Mm.
Yep, I did.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Mm. Well, you are quite the writer, Quincy. Of course, I knew that, but I did not know that you were had done the screenwriting as well. And so you mentioned, Quincy, that it'd be that Denzel would be great to direct your film for Miles and Me.
Well,
and
they don't want what
the
guy he wants to direct it. I don't know, and so does Carl Franklin. So those two people I know want to do it. I don't know who Rudy's going to pick. I don't know, So I have to say that. But but Denzel is going to be involved in it in some way. And Denzel
Sure.
said I'll tell you, Denzel said he wanted to play me. I said, Rudy, Denzel's too old to play me at that time. So he goes back and tells Denzel. Denzel said, what? Huh?
He went back and told Denzel?
I told him about Denzel. Said,
Oh,
I'm
no.
looking at he ever been. No, but he laughed. I know Denzel.
Oh, no. Here we go.
He said, what, are you trying to be like Miles?
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Oh, that is hilarious. Oh, man. Wow. Well, it sounds like you've had a real good time with this project for sure, Quincy. Um, and so, what about with The Pursuit of Happiness? Were you
No, no,
involved
I
with
didn't.
that movie
I
as
didn't. I
well?
wasn't involved with that. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
involved with that. I just wrote the book. I get royalties. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I get royalties.
Oh,
I'll tell you a funny
that's
story
nice.
about that.
Well, look, let me
Huh?
be one of your godchildren, okay? I'm just joking. I said, let me be
No,
one of your
no. Chris Gardner told
godchildren.
me. Chris goes with a goes. He's one of his former girlfriends lives in the building, and he comes over here sometime. And so one day I got on the
Uh-huh.
elevator to go down, and he was on the elevator. Hey, Troupe, what's happening, man? I said, how you doing? He said, yeah, man. I said, I got to tell you, man. I think you didn't got enough money off me, man. I thought you was a businessman, Chris. He said, what? I thought you were a businessman. I said, you signed the contract, fool. I said, you signed the contract. You ain't got nothing to do with that.
That's
The money come to
hilarious.
me anyway. So he said, oh, is that like that? I said, yeah. I said, and you from Milwaukee, I'm from St. Louis. And people from St. Louis don't take no shit now. Don't go there, boy. He looked at me like,
That's right.
it's like that. I said, yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's like that. Don't go there, man. Don't
It's
go
like
there.
that. Mm-hmm.
Don't go there, man. I said, I like you. We had a great relationship up until now. All right, bro. Okay, man. Oh, yeah. But Chris is, I don't know. Chris is
Wow.
funny. He's a funny guy. But he signed me. He came to get me. He came and found me because he loved my Miles book. So I'm grateful.
Okay.
I'm grateful for that he found me to do that book. Earl Monroe lives in the same building as I do, and so one day,
wow.
the doorbell rings, and I didn't know Earl. I didn't know him. I saw him pass, and I opened the door. It's Earl Monroe. Hey, man, you Quincy Troupe? I said, yeah, Earl Monroe. I said, I know who you are, man. He said, yeah, I want to talk to you about something. I said, what? He said, you like to write my book? I said, that'd be an honor to write your book, man. It'd be an honor. And I did. So we tight to this day. I mean, we are really tight. He and his wife, who's crazy, she's crazy, boy, Marita. But we all love her, And Earl is a beautiful guy. He is just one beautiful guy. He was a great player, but he's just a beautiful spirit too.
Wow. It sounds like, one opportunity led to the next, with no, it was just smooth sailing.
I mean, something that I never thought about. I never thought about any of this. I really didn't. The only thing I wanted to do was to be, after a certain point, to write good poetry. That's what it was for me. And I wasn't thinking about any of this other. But like I said, I went to school to study journalism and picked up a craft. And I learned how to write books like that, prose and autobiographies. And I studied it. And it has served me well in that way. But I'm not going to write anymore. No.
And so,
I'm not going to write any more
autobiographies.
Books, I'm writing my memoir now. It's called. I don't know exactly what the title is going to be, but I'm writing it now, and I'm trying to finish it. I'm trying to finish it now.
Yeah. Do you have Quincy? Do you already have a publisher for it?
7 Stories. I have a really good publisher now.
That's
7
amazing.
Stories Press. 7 Stories Press. Yeah, 7 Stories Press.
7 Stories Press.
Okay. They're the division of Random House, and so
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
found your book on Random House.
yeah,
So
but
I
it's
thought it
Seven
was
Stories Press
Penguin
is part of
Random
Random
House.
House.
Yeah.
And so Dan
Uh-huh.
Simon, he's he's my editor, and the interesting guy, South African Jewish guy, and he found me,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. At
Oh,
a
he
party.
came
I
and
was at a party.
found you, much like how Earl found you, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
Chris Gardner.
It's uh, the thing about New York. I always tell people about living in New York. Some people say, "Man, I don't see. I used to live in New York." I said, "New York is a writer's town." I said, "So it's writer's city, and
Yes.
things drop off trees in your lap, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
even be looking for it." I said, the problem
Right.
is most people cannot handle living in New York. I can handle living in New York because one, I have a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful wife, and
Right.
we've been together 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and she's from over
Wow.
40.
Congratulations, Miss you and
Yeah,
Mrs.
Margaret Porter Troupe. She used to
Margaret
work at the New
Porter
York
Troupe.
Times,
Yes.
and we met each other. And the funny thing about Margaret, when
Mm-hmm.
I met her, I was running around with all kind of little ladies at the time, and she had all kind of boyfriends and everything. She had all kind of because she's a nice looking woman, so she had all kind of boyfriends and all. So she told me, I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget it. She says, because I was over our house, she used to live in the village, and I was all passionate and everything. She says, "Don't
Uh-huh.
get serious. Don't get serious." I said, "What?" She said, "Don't get serious now." She says, "I only go with somebody for 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months." That's what she told me.
And
She told
three
me,
months.
"That's it. Don't get serious." So now, yeah. So now when we walk
Don't
through the
get
house, I
serious.
said, "You still here?"
Because it's
Yeah, I
long
said,
past
you
three
still
weeks
you
and
still
three
here?
months now.
She just laughed. Now, shut up. And so
Wow.
that is amazing. And
That's
she's
amazing.
always
Mm-hmm.
she's a lovely lady, and her family's great family,
Mm-hmm.
big family from Mississippi, and it's just so I've been very
Uh-huh.
fortunate. I've been very, very fortunate. I've been very fortunate. I have.
Wow. That's amazing. And so, Quincy, you mentioned how you are drafting a poem uh, talking about COVID or related to COVID. How has the pandemic influenced or changed your artistry or your
Yeah, I
writing or
was talking
even
to
your
Mark.
thinking process
Yeah, I was talking to
in
Mark. We
this
were talking
last
this
year or
morning. I
so?
mean, we don't go out anywhere. We don't go. We used to go travel a lot. We
Mm.
traveled a lot. As a matter of fact, when the COVID hit, we were just about to go to Portugal, and for about 3 weeks, and so
Mm.
we haven't been able to go anywhere. I had these gigs. I had all these lectures and lectures lined up. The talks and lectures and poetry readings,
Wow.
and I had to cancel all of them. And so now they're talking about they want to wait to want it to happen in the fall or okay. I said okay, whatever.
Right.
I'm but it's so strange. And where we
Mm-hmm.
live in Harlem, we live in Harlem. I think we live in a lovely neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
In this neighborhood where we live is
Yeah.
really
Mm-hmm.
mixed, integrated. All kind of people live here. Latinos, white
Uh-huh.
people, black people, Arabs. A lot of people from Europe. It's
Mm-hmm.
Africa. It's this street. The street we live on is a lot of African
Mm-hmm.
shops and all that. So it's a great area to live in, and it's
Oh, wow.
hardly no crime. Although we have been hearing some stupid stuff that has been happening around here. You know. Uh, One
Uh-huh.
guy, when I walked out one day, I've never had a problem, and I was going across the street it's a deli on the other side, run by these people from Yemen. So I go in there and get the papers, and I go in there and get some ice cream and stuff like that. So I come out, and this guy standing there. He said, "Hey, you the poet, right?" I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you the poet." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"You that poet, right?" I said, yeah, 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 I write poetry. He said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you wrote that book on Miles Davis, right? I said, who are you? He says, man, give me some money. I said, excuse me? That's what he said. He said, give me some money. I said, excuse me? Yeah, give me some money, man. You one of them rich niggas? Give me some money. I looked at him. I said, look here, boy. I said, don't get in my face. I said, I will take you out right now. I got right in his face. I said, I will take you out right now. I said, you messing with the wrong one. Don't go violent. I said, I ain't going violent. I'm just telling you what's about to happen. I said, I'm telling you what's about to happen.
Oh, no.
You threatening me, man. You ain't got no right to threaten me, man.
Yeah.
You got no right to talk to me like that. You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah, okay, man. Yeah, okay. And he started back. I said, yeah, don't ever, ever say something to me like that, ever. And I walked across the street, and I remember it was, this neighborhood is like that. You got these crazy people. This woman is walking down the street, beautiful, beautiful black woman. I mean, she was as bourgeois as you could get. I mean, she was decked to the nines, clean. I mean, she was clean, and she was fine, beautiful. Wasn't bothering nobody, had her sunglasses. She's walking up the street, and this guy comes up and said, baby, boy, she stopped, took off her glasses and said, shut the fuck up. I will cut you with my fucking razor. That's what she told him. I said, whoa.
Lord.
I mean, so you got this mix. And she looked at him, and she was serious, too. She was serious. She was about 5'9". She looked at him, man, in the face. I said, this woman ain't playing. And the guy said, hey.
No, she's not.
Get out of my face, she said. And she walked right past him like he wasn't nothing, And as she was walking, I was looking at her like, how you doing, brother? And she kept going. So you got the mix of crazy people around here.
I guess.
And at the same time, you got some beautiful people around here. So you got this mix, and sometimes it can get really strange. But not much. Usually not at all.
Yeah.
No, not out of hand.
Not too out of hand. Yeah. And so, what has your creativity been like during this time?
Well,
in the last year with the pandemic and everything.
Every day I get up and write. I get up every day and write. That's the good thing. That I get up and write every day. And I write on my memoir. The memoir is titled "The Accordion Years," like an accordion, because it's like it's 1966 to now, and it's called "The Accordion Years," and it goes in and out. It's in 11 chapters, and I'm not trying to write a autobiography or a autobiography. It's on how I became a poet. That's what I'm decided to get it down to, and it's going to be about 250 pages. And I've got 170 written now. So I work on that. Yeah, I work on that.
Oh, that's a nice.
And then I work on these.
Yeah, that's a nice
crazy
list.
poems that I'm writing now. About doing this during like I wrote. I named the book Duende, but I didn't have a poem called Duende. I didn't have a poem, so I said I got to write a poem titled Duende. So I did that. So I gotten that one. And then I wrote a poem I was telling you about earlier. I realized I hadn't written anything about the COVID-19, and so I just started writing this poem called COVID-19 Removals. And it's not long now. It's about it's my second draft, and it's about 15 lines. The Duende is a little bit longer, not much. Yeah.
So Quincy, would you now like to read some of your work, a few of your poems?
Let me see. How much time we got to read? Tell me. Okay.
It's fine.
A few here. So let me read. Let's see. These aren't published. It's going to be in my book Duende. And this is called COVID-19, and it's not.
Okay.
I usually don't do this, but I'm going to do it because it's my second draft, and I wrote
Okay.
it today. I was right. This is the second draft written at 2:12 p.m. Today, the 19th, 2021, and I've always put where I live and my name at the
Wow.
bottom and sign it. And it's called COVID-19. Then I'll read the Duende poem and a couple more. COVID-19 removals.
Okay.
They were people we once knew. Friends, doctors, artists, poets, who passed through our lives breathing, smiling. Now they are photographs, ghosts we pull from wallets and pockets. We show them off now as if they were relics we placed in an album next to a coffin holding a trace of a memory of someone's face we once knew. Love to see walking full of laughter toward us, next to us, through a day bursting with sunshine, music tonguing a kiss from the lover walking next to us. Now they are gone in a flash of memory we received in a phone call yesterday. Duende. Yeah.
That was Quincy. Thank you for that. I appreciate that poem,
Yeah, it's not true, but
COVID-19
I
removals.
like where
Thank
it's
you
going.
for sharing that.
This is Duende, and this is I've been writing this for a little while, and it's going to be the title poem in my book. Duende. In the bottomless power, magic of Duende, climbing stealthily from earth, wrapped inside secrets, mystery infused in black magic, enters bodies in the form of dance, music, art, imbuing language with sovereignty, in blood spooling back through violent centuries, voices echoing ancient Africa, rise, thread, from skins of blessed sacred rituals. People emerge from drums as heartbeats in time. Memory is revived here now through metaphor. Olden voices find their way vibrating into song. Rhythms stitch forgotten sounds into language. Beat out of them by whips on slave ships. Bring back wonder of feet pounding. Dance, 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 I say. Dance, dance, dance. The Holy Ghost lost in bloody homelands. Dance, dance, dance. Now souls underneath rise up through bodies, spooled back with talismans, hypnotic, pull ancient voodoo up in buckets filled with holy water, evoke memories drinking from whodunit secrets, awaken in the voice of Garcia Lorca, Andalusian dews, heard in Miles's clues, vibrating anew in sketches of Spain, a Dante blues. Dance, dance, dance now. Dance, dance, dance now. I say dance, dance, dance now.
I love that piece. You can hear you know what, Quincy, you can hear the music in your poem, Duende. And so this would be the title poem for your new book, Duende Poems. Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Something else? Okay, I'll read a few.
Oh, I'd love to. If you have two more,
how many more?
That'd be great before we, close out.
I'm going to read one that's kind of interesting. I had a dream, and so this poem is a dream, comes out of a dream, and it's called "What the Nightmare Taught Me in Sleep." What the nightmare taught me in sleep is what the panther prowling through darkness informed me of when sleeping. Was his purring mind unlocking with glowing eyes that were keys and navigating with stealth my fear? In coming upon those mysterious shadows, were they demonic devils ascending from the frightening corners of my hellish imagination during this COVID-19 time, which sometimes pushed me toward slipping, stepping over the edge of a cliff and plunging, screaming into the mystery, howling from deep down in the unknown lurking below? Is this what the fear of death knows is coming? We never know when it will arrive, carrying a linguistic magic inside the nuances of having lived a life of joy with rhythm pulsating when arranging the orchestration in a symphony of words that serve as notes inside the flow, the architectonic jambalaya of sentences building structures inside the didgeridoo of contemporary poetry. It all came to me now in sleep, from inside shadows through trees, came in the form of a black panther in my dream, obliquely stalking the helpless prey, inherited from genes, gifts his parents bequeathed him. Dropped when his mother opened up the hen's doorway and her vagina dropped him bloody, born into two fierce eyes under a bright moon, two eyes resembling the boiling heat of the sun. Now I know what the snarling, that prowling shadow leads to. Most times there is quick death lurking in the blue-black darkness. In any moment it informs there is nothing our fingers can touch, though it is what history tells us might be the truth we are searching for. Though maybe it's just a pathway, faith that intersects with wisdom, seers and poets saw, evoked in metaphors filled with shamanistic images, reciting lines threading through the poet's voice, embedded with soul, shouted out within those rhythms great musicians heard. Now the time has come for me to try to implement this voice I heard when the panther spoke through the mystery of my dreams, and that voice is arriving now in the uncertainty inside this poem, in the uncertainty this poem brings. And then this last one is
That's wonderful. And Quincy, can I just ask you, is that a poem?
Yeah, that's
from
all
your
it's gonna be in
previous
this new book,
collection, Seduction?
Duende.
Uh,
All these are going to be in
yeah.
this new book.
Oh,
And
okay.
let me read two more, and then you can do what you want.
Nice. Okay, and I don't know if you know, I can hear
That's the
some
paper.
kind of background noise.
That was
I'm
my
not
paper
sure what
moving
it
the paper
is.
around.
Oh, okay.
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 This is called Storms Are Passing Through the Heart
Okay.
of America. All these are new. Yeah. They're all
Oh, these are
like
new.
in the first
Okay.
or
Okay.
and I you know, they're new. I'm going to go over them again. So I'm just reading them to you now. Storms are passing through the heart of America.
Okay.
A howling snowstorm is passing through the heart of America. It is ripping down trees, piling up high on concrete streets, covering sidewalks, littered with feces, garbage poisoning the air we all breathe. Our faces are covered with painted, elaborate masks. Some eyes dart arrows around anxious with fear, size up everything coming their way. Now, always suspect, sometimes even friends. These storms sometimes incubate in minds of people we know, some call friends, who might live next door in prisons they have created for themselves when they lock their minds up in pods, where news sweeps grow like snowstorms full of strange beliefs, locked into place in this atmosphere of bizarre propaganda when howling white snowstorms of disinformation rage everywhere. So, what to do inside these melancholy suburban pods suspended in time when there are a few live music bands here to relieve us? Where is the great band weather report when we need their release? Where are the art shows, buzzing live conversations, the poetry readings, live dance shows, live anything. So what to do then is the question we ask when a howling snowstorm freezes heartland America. What to do then when time is an hourglass running out of sand? 77 syllables in 11 lines.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
77
That was
syllables
really,
and
really
11
nice.
lines.
Mm-hmm.
You might think you can do it. Write a good but not great poem in 11 lines exact, with 77 beats, 7 in every line. Then catch its rhythm, its flow, so sweet, locked inside your word count, without missing not one syllable in lines stacked up as in a pile of pancakes, straight out the hot frying pan.
Wow. Thank you so much, Quincy, for these poems. And these are all
Yes,
poems that will be
be
in
in
your
Duende. They'll be in
forthcoming
Duende,
collection, Duende.
along with a whole bunch of others.
Wow. Well, people are in for a real treat with this book. And I'm sure you will be doing,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
other
do more. Yeah,
interviews to
when
promote the book,
not
right?
right now. I'm gonna do one
Mm-hmm.
later on this afternoon, and then my publisher is lining up others. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what he's lining up. you know, but
Mm-hmm.
you you
Wow. Well,
you
I'm
are the first.
privileged to be one of the first. I have to say, oh, wow. That's amazing, man. Well, thank you so much. Quincy, blessings to you and Mrs. Margaret Porter Troupe. It's just been amazing to talk with you. Your history is, absolutely astounding. Your poetry, and you don't remember this, but I took a workshop with you at Medgar Evers some years ago during the
I
Black
remember that.
Writers annual
I
Black
do. I really
Writers
do.
Conference
It's
many
like
years ago.
I do so many of these workshops, and sometimes it's just yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I tell you one funny story. See, it's not the truth, so it's not the same with you. So, guy, this woman walked up to me on the street and said, "Oh, you're Quincy Troupe." I said, "Yeah, every day." So she said, "I know you." I said, "Oh, you do?" I said, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "Where you know me from?" "Oh, I came to one of your readings and you talked to me afterwards." I said, really?" He said, "Yeah." "You don't remember me?" I said, "Not, absolutely not. I don't." I said, "I'm not saying you're not a good person or
Absolutely not.
you ain't a great person, but one time, come on now." I said, "Come on now. Don't try to make me feel bad
Right.
now."
Yeah.
No, 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 no. I say
No,
I
no, I
do, I
don't.
do, I
I
do,
didn't
I
expect you to
do
remember
recall
me, but
you.
I just wanted to
But
mention
I don't
you.
recall this woman. I didn't recall her at all.
Mhm. And you probably get a lot of people, former
Yeah, I
students and
do. But the
different poets coming up to you all the
best answer
time,
I've
huh?
ever heard was Earl Monroe said something to a guy. Earl and I were going somewhere, and this white guy, ran up to Earl on the street and said, "Earl Monroe, the pearl, Earl Pearl." So, Earl kind of is shy, and he kind of laughs. He started laughing. The guy said, "You remember me?" He said, "No." I met you at Madison Square Garden." He said, What? In front of about 25,000 people?" Shit. Yeah.
You and 25,000
I
other
laughed.
people.
I laughed. I just started laughing. It was so funny. You and
Right.
25,000 others.
That's hilarious. And so, Quincy, how can we best support your work now and follow you? We're in this pandemic, so I know it may be difficult to see you at the nearest bookstore reading, but How would you like
Well,
folks to support
if they
you
want,
and your forthcoming work?
I have a whole. They can look me up online. The Miles and Me book is out. They can get that, or they can get the Miles the autobiography. Those two books. The Pursuit of Happiness, I don't have to push
Mm-hmm.
because Chris Gardner's running everywhere pushing that.
Uh-huh.
So but those two, Miles and Me, and Miles the autobiography, and then these books that I have out now is I have a book called Ghost Voices. It's a Ghost Voices,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one. It's a book it's a poem in
Mm-hmm.
prayer. It's that poem is about in 13 parts.
Okay.
It's a long poem, one poem, and then the other book is called
Mm-hmm.
Seduction. That's out now. Both of them were done by
Mm-hmm.
they were both done by I think Northwestern University Press.
Well, I have
Tri-quarterly.
Seduction
And then
right
the other
here.
book that's out is called
Tri-quarterly
Eroncities.
books. Yeah.
Eroncities.
Uh-huh.
Erancies. Eroncities. And that's from Coffee House. And then there's a big book called
Okay. Roncities.
Circularities. That's
Uh-huh.
about 400 pages. Also
Mm-hmm.
from Coffee House. And both of those in paperback and hardback.
Wow. It's wonderful. And you are still writing and just churning it out. Even, I talk to different writers who say, yeah, I mean, the pandemic has impacted their writing or, their movement, how they feel and different things like that. So it's really wonderful to hear, Quincy, that you've been quite productive during this time of uncertainty, and
Yes,
you
I
just
mean, I
keep on
think that
focusing on the art.
I think that poets, writers have to. You wrote, which I thought was really good. Says you said, what advice would I give to emerging poets or poets who are younger? Um, I think that what poets have to do is write.
Yes.
They have to write every day if they can. They have to write every day. Write something down. I carry a notebook with me, and I write in it all the time. I jot down little lines here and there. That's what that first poem that came out of, that COVID-19 poem. It just came out of there because
Mm-hmm.
I was I just started
Uh-huh.
trying. I said, well, I got to write something about this COVID-19, and I didn't know what it was going to be. And I haven't finished that poem, but I figured I'm not afraid to write down pieces. I'm not afraid to
Mm-hmm.
read works in progress because I know they're going to change. I know, and I know these poems are going to change, and I think they should work at it. And then in during this time of COVID, I think they should read more, read as much as they can. Uh, I don't know how they can support
Mm-hmm.
if we can buy people's work through their publishers, because I'm not in the fall. I'm going to start moving out and doing readings. I'm going to start doing readings in the fall.
Okay. But do you have a newsletter or something people sign on to get your news, or
Yeah,
is it mainly
my
follow you
wife
on
Margaret
social
MP Troupe.
media?
If they want to,
Okay.
my wife serves as kind of an agent for me, and her if people want to
Okay.
reach me, or her email is
Mm-hmm.
mptroupe@yahoo.com, lowercase mp troupe TROUPE at
Okay.
yahoo.com. And if they want to invite me if they want to invite me to do readings later in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
they can talk to her because she
Uh-huh.
handles it. She handles all of that.
I see.
Yeah, she handles
That
all
she
my
does
bookings.
those bookings and
People
things.
call up and say, "Hey, is
Okay.
this Quincy Troupe?" I said,
Okay.
"Yeah, but we'd like you to do a reading for us." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, he said, "Yeah, man, we got $25." I said, "What?" I don't do $25 readings.
Oh no.
I don't do that. I'll either do free, or you
Right.
have to talk to my wife. You know what I mean? I said, it's like You wouldn't ask a musician to
Right.
do.
Uh-oh.
You wouldn't ask
That's
Miles
what that
Davis
means.
or some musician to do a reading for $10. Yeah, you wouldn't ask them to do that. You wouldn't do it. I said, so
Right.
I'm here to tell you, you can't ask poets to do that. I'm speaking for myself, but I'm speaking for all poets. Poets don't want to do $5 readings. You know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah, I said, yeah. We got
And I'm
families.
clapping about that.
Just
yes.
like, I mean, you don't ask a lawyer to do nothing for free. No, you don't. I don't know why people do that.
You sure
but
don't.
they do it. They do it all the time.
Yeah, so true. Well, Quincy, it's been an absolute joy and a privilege to talk with you today on
Yes.
a sunny Friday, as you mentioned, sunny in New York. And I wish you the best of success with your new work, Duende,
Right.
coming out in August, as well as all of your previous works. And I will, of course, be in touch on this. And I will be posting your
Yeah, you're gonna send me
book
so I
titles
can
along with
see it.
this interview as well.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
As soon
have
as
fun doing
soon
it.
as it's
Sometimes
done.
I don't have fun.
Yep.
I don't have fun with interviews. Because I'm kind of, I've interviewed a lot of people, and so when I know I see that you thought these questions out,
Oh yes, I think about
it's
it.
like
I
Miles
think
used to
about
say,
it and kind of meditate on it a little bit
took a
too.
minute to think about this shit. It's so funny. I'm always quoting Miles because he says stuff that is
yes, sir. I did.
Yeah, he told this guy one time.
Did.
Yeah, looked like you took about a minute to think about that shit, man. I cracked up. All right.
Man, amazing. All right. Well, thank you so much, Quincy, and blessings
Thank
for
you.
the Mrs. And hope you all have
let's
a
stay in
blessed
touch,
rest
okay?
of your day. And I will definitely be in touch.
Bye-bye.
And you were just listening to episode 22 of Nerdacity Podcast, featuring my guest, award-winning poet, professor, editor, children's author, and nonfiction author, Quincy Troupe. Quincy has a new book coming out later this summer titled Duende. You can visit 7stories.com, Quincy's publisher for Duende, for more information on this title. You can also visit Quincy's website, www.quincytroupe.com, for information on his previous works, including Miles and Me, his memoir, and also the autobiography of Miles Davis. Visit my website, DuEwaWorld.com, and I also hope that you'll listen to episodes 1 to 20 of my podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, feel free to give a small donation at anchor.fm/DuEwaFrazier/support. Connect with me on Instagram at Nerdacity Podcast, and also tweet me on Twitter at NerdacityPod1. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.